bloodshed, brotherhood, and betrayal. Three defining elements in the history of the United Blood Nation, a gang that's made its mark on the American criminal landscape with a trail of violence and intimidation. With its roots set in the U.S. city of New York, intimidation is a violent tactic that the UBN use to send ruthless messages to anyone that considers taking them on. In 2018, 6 UBN members were sentenced to lengthy prison terms for the murder of South Carolina couple Douglas and Deborah London. The Londons were watching television in their home when the doorbell rang. When they opened the door, they were met with gunfire. Deborah was shot in the head and died immediately, while Douglas was shot multiple times. Both died next to each other on the floor of their home. The Londons were specifically targeted because they were the owners of a mattress store that had been robbed at gunpoint 5 months earlier by 3 UBN members, led by Jamel Cureton, a high-ranking 5-star general within the gang. During the raid, Douglas London pulled his own gun and hit Cureton, who managed to escape but was soon arrested. After finding out that London was going to testify against the gang, Cureton gained permission to carry out a hit, leading to UBN members to head to the London's home where Malcolm Hartley pulled the trigger. The FBI's investigation into Cureton also led to the solving of the blood-related murder of teenager Kwame Clinburn for falsely claiming to be a member of the gang. Cureton ordered Nana Odoma and Akeem McDonald to lure Clinburn to a public park and be shot. They kill, rape, intimidate, and steal, were the words of Assistant Attorney General Donna Bonte during a press conference in 2017. This was after a huge FBI operation led to the arrest of 83 UBN leaders for charges including racketeering, murder, violent assault, narcotics distribution, firearms possession, and robbery.
Privileged to be here in Charlotte today to announce the arrest and indictment of the 83 leaders and members of the United Blood Nation.
The scale of the operation revealed the government's view that the UBN was a significant threat and not just petty gangbangers fighting over turf. One of the men targeted was Omari Rosero, aka Uno B, who's a godfather of the UBN. Despite already being locked up, Rosero's power and influence continue to flow to the outside world. As a godfather, he's considered the highest authority in the gang. Starting out as a member of the 9 Trey Gangsters, which is a set of UBNs, Rosero devoted his entire life to the gang, working his way up from a scrap to 5-star general, then a low, and finally a high, until he eventually rose to the very top, godfather of the United Blood Nation. In a recorded jail call, Rosero openly claimed to be among a select few that God put in power over the UBN. These few also includes Pedro Magu Gutierrez, who is the godfather of the 9 Treys, and the man who was said to be behind the 2011 prison gang war, where he ordered Bloods to attack and kill members of a rival gang, Pretty Tony, resulting in the lockdown of 5 prisons for 6 months. Prison has always been a big part of the UBN, as it was where the gang was founded. Formed in Rikers Island Jail in 1993, OG Mac, Porti, and Leonard, OG Deadeye McKenzie, led an alliance between other smaller gangs, including the 9 Trey Gangsters, GKB, and Sex Money Murder, to protect members from dominant rival gangs like the Nietas and Latin Kings. They gained a quick reputation for being extremely violent due to their initiation practice known as a buck 50, where wannabe members would cut non-gang members' faces to the extent they would need 150 stitches. And even though he was a boss, Porti wasn't shy about getting his own hands dirty. In 1996, he was a part of an attack of the Latin Kings, with blood stabbing and slashing inmates with scramble game pieces sharpened into spears. As UBN thrived in the prison system, Porti's release in 1999 helped spread the gang's power outside of prison walls, making them the most dominant gang on the East Coast, outnumbering their deadly rivals, the Crips. On returning to the Bronx, Porti continued the running of the Bloods, armed with what he called burners, which is slang for guns. He began to consolidate control over the neighborhood by persuading more people to join and teaching younger gang members to fight. In 2002, however, he was sentenced to 50 years for criminal activity, including racketeering, murder, and drug trafficking, and was incarcerated at ADX Florence, home to some of America's most notorious criminals, including El Chapo, the Unabomber, and Tyler Bingham, founder of the Aryan Brotherhood. UBN use a coded language to communicate with each other to avoid detection from law enforcement and rival gangs. Some commonly used code terms are lick, rip, and grinding, all meaning robbery, and food, and on the plate, which means that the individual gang member or a non-gang member is targeted for some type of physical attack. Loyalty to the gang was thrown into disarray when it was revealed that the success of the FBI's takedown of the 83 leaders was partly due to a former high-ranking female UBN member becoming an FBI informant. Known as Kelly Starr to protect her identity, Starr did most of the administrative work for the Bloods, giving her exclusive access to the inner workings of the gangs. She had met nearly every Godfather in the gang during her time as an informant, forwarding emails to the FBI, passing on deadly gang secrets. After being paid nearly $150,000 by the FBI for her work, Starr says her life has been threatening for being a snitch and betraying the gang, and claims that an SOS, shot on sight, order has been put on her head. Starr's testimony was a critical blow to the UBN, but despite crackdowns by law enforcement and the imprisonment of its leaders, the gang remains a significant threat that leaves a trail of victims in its wake.